Imagine a chemical so powerful it was originally engineered as a nerve agent during World War II. Now imagine it is being sprayed on the rice, apples, and vegetables on your plate, and a landmark new study says it may be quietly rewiring children's brains before they're even born. That chemical is chlorpyrifos, and scientists say the evidence against it has never been stronger. Hello and welcome to The Print. I am Soumya Pillai and this is Pure Science. Before I get into the details of this important study, I want to take a moment of your time and make an appeal. We at The Print believe in unhyphenated journalism, and to keep that going, we need your support. If you like and follow our work, please consider taking a paid subscription. The process will be flashing on your screens right now. Researchers from Columbia University Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, and the University of Southern California tracked 270 children in New York City from birth to age 14, all born to African American and Latina mothers with detectable levels of chlorpyrifos in their umbilical cord blood. This means the exposure happened in the womb before a single breath was taken in the outside world. The MRI scans showed the higher the prenatal exposure, the more widespread the damage, reduced blood flow to the brain, thickening of the cortex, abnormal neural pathway, and impaired nerve insulation. Children with the highest exposure also struggled in motor skills test, failing to coordinate finger movement or tap a keyboard in sequence. The study, published in the international journal JAMA Neurology, is the first to show these effects are enduring, persisting from the womb into adolescence. Now, sadly, this is not a new concern. For over 2 decades, evidence has been stacking up. Chlorpyrifos belongs to a class of chemicals called organophosphates, which were developed as nerve gas in World War II, then repurposed as insecticides. They work by blocking acetylcholine esterase, an enzyme that regulates nerve signals, which kills insects but does the same damage to a developing human brain. Earlier Columbia studies found that highly exposed children had lower IQ scores and weaker working memory by age 7. A study of over 54,000 pesticide applicators found a statistically significant increase in lung cancer risk. A 2026 UCLA study found long term exposure may dramatically raise the risk of Parkinson's disease. The US EPA ultimately concluded there is no safe level of exposure, particularly for children who carry almost twice the chlorpyrifos level of adults at chronic exposures more than 4 times the so called acceptable limit for the age group. The US banned its indoor residential use back in 2001, but chlorpyrifos has never gone away. It continues to be sprayed on agricultural crops across the world, on non organic fruits, grains, and vegetables, meaning people living near farms are still breathing it in through dust and outdoor air and consuming it through food residues. Here is where the story turns political. More than 40 countries have already banned chlorpyrifos outright. In 2021, the European Union nominated it for a global phase out under the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, one of the world's most important chemical safety treaties. In 2024, the convention's own scientific review body recommended listing it under Annex A, the elimination category, finding that chlorpyrifos meets all four criteria of a persistent organic pollutant. It doesn't degrade easily, it bioaccumulates up the food chain, it travels across borders through air and water, and is toxic to living organisms. When countries gathered in Geneva in May 2025 for the 12th Conference of Parties, the scientific case of a ban was, by all accounts, overwhelming. But the ban didn't happen. Not fully, at least. and India was at the center of that outcome. India has used chlorpyrifos since 1977. It remains the country's most widely used insecticide, approved for over 16 crops including rice, cotton, sugarcane, mustard, brinjal, and cabbage. A 2024 food contamination study found it was the most frequently detected pesticide in Indian food samples, turning up in 33% of cases. India and China are now the world's two largest producers. At Geneva, the Indian government, backed by its agrochemical industry, argued that chlorpyrifos was essential for food security, that no affordable alternatives existed, arguing that substitutes cost up to 30 times more per hectare and that India's tropical climate breaks the chemical down faster. India also blocked listing under the Rotterdam Convention, which would have simply required countries to give prior informed consent before importing the chemical. Along with Russia, India's opposition threatened to deadlock even the modest transparency measure. The outcome at COP12 was a 5-year specific exemption. Chlorpyrifos can continue to be produced and used until 2030. Health advocates call it a failure. The Center for Pesticide Suicide Prevention urged India to reconsider, noting that true leadership is choosing science and long term responsibility over outdated chemicals. This is not new ground for India. In 2010, the country similarly opposed banning endosulfan, another organophosphate pesticide, before it was eventually phased out under international pressure. With every growing season, pregnant women near agricultural fields continue to be exposed. With every harvest, residues remain. The 5-year exemption buys time, but scientists say time is exactly what we don't have because the damage being done right now, silently to unborn brains, won't show up on a test until a child is already years old. That is all from me this week. I am Soumya Pillai and I will be back next week with another scientific advancement only on Pure Science.